Before we start talking about the Azure Firewall, actually what I will be doing, I will be talking about the jump server. And I think you guys on your daily life itself, you are seeing the jump server in your organization. In the meantime, let me open the PDF for you. Oh, firewall, jump server. So usually, this is the my architecture for the jump server, what you have to do. And this is going to be the, so, same thing on the same of the architecture that we will be creating. We will be extending the firewall in that. Okay, so what we are going to do, we will be having the jump server architecture in the same. We are going to add one thing that will be your Azure firewall. So you will see what diagram I am having for the firewall is, I am having one jump server, one workload subnet where I am having workload VM, and third one I am going to have is the Azure firewall, right? So it will be having different components in this one. So first of all, we only understand this part, which is the workload and jump server. So in your organization, what you have, let's say that in a single VNet, if you start creating multiple, this is for example your VNet. Okay, this was your virtual network. Now in this virtual network, you were having the different VMs as well. Okay, so you start having the different VMs. So you have the one VM here, and then you start having the another VM over here, one VM, then there is the another VM. So you start having these VMs, right? Now when you have these VMs on the different, and again let's say that these were the part of your different subnets. Okay, this was part of a different subnet, this was part again of this different subnet. Now if each one of them are going to have their own public IP address, so what you are doing, you are increasing the attacking surface over here. So now if let's say that I am having 20 VM, each of them are having 20 public IP address, means people from the internet can directly go and access those surface. So for an attacker, there is the more chances. Why? Because you increase the attack surface. So you have to protect those 20 machines public IP address, you have to deploy security over there, and it will be kind of the consuming resources, time and money as well. Now what you can do is, like in your organization, you must have seen that there are jump server. So what we will be creating in a VNet, we will be having a jump subnet, and we will be having a workload subnet. Now this workload subnet will be having a VM which is workload VM, and this jump server will be having a subnet, will be having a VM which is jump VM. Now only this machine will be having the your uh, public IP. So if I have to do any administrative task on other machine, so through this machine, I will be getting the connection of all those other machine, and this will be reducing down my attacking surface area over here. Now, so if someone from the internet has to access this workload VM, they will be having connection to this first to this jump server, and from this jump server they will be having the connection of the workload subnet. So it will be just like your Inception movie, an RDP connection inside an RDP connection. Okay, just remember that reference, right? So this is something that what we are applying to do. Now I have to only focus on protecting this machine, this server only, right? This is going to be my primary focus now, right? So this is the part that what we are actually interested in. Okay, so this is the one thing. Now for this thing, if you will be reading our architecture, launch one VNet with two subnet, workload and jump subnet, spin one VM with the name workload VM in workload subnet without the public IP address, and spin one VM jump VM in the jump subnet with the public IP address. Use this for the RDP connection. So let me do one thing. Let me just close all the other RDP connection here. Let me close this one as well, and quickly jump into the, so that I don't consume any extra time today. I will be jumping onto the your virtual machines part. So on the virtual machine part, we will be having now on the one is the jump VM, one is the workload VM. Okay, and rest whatever is running, I'm going to stop all of them, 1 2, and these 3 machines are running. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm going to stop these machines first, and looks like their task is also done. So I can also go ahead and once they will be stopped, I will be deleting them as well. And let me just close other as well in here. Let me just go back and okay, 2 machines we are going to get opened over this place. Come on, I have to start these VM as well. They are in the stopped state. Okay, as soon as I said that I will try to end it bit early, I think it got offended. Azure portal got offended, right? It doesn't want to end quickly. Okay, so this is the jump VM and this is the workload VM. So if you will notice in the workload VM, it doesn't have any public IP address. So there is no way for me to go ahead and connect to this one, from my browser, okay, directly from this machine to there. I have no option of connecting over there. So what we have in the same case, what I am going to do, if you will see, this is my jump VM, which is part of the jump subnet. You can read here, jump firewall VNet in the jump subnet. Second, it is jump firewall VNet and it is on the workload subnet, right? So this is the your jump server firewall onto this point. Now, when you have this, jump machine, either workload machine here, so we'll be using this jump machine to get the connection onto the workload VM. So what we have to do is we will be going onto the networking rules of this one, and we will be making this rule very strong. So right now RDP connection can come from anywhere. So now I'm going to define it that RDP connection should be initiated from a very specific IP address. Okay, again, I will be checking what's my IP. Okay, this is my public IP address. Let me copy this whole thing. Let me come down onto the solution, paste it over here. Source port range, destination, any, and these are the some priorities and everything. Rest, what I am going to do, I am going to make it very specific. Again, IP address. And what is the IP address of workload machine is this. So destination is very specifically than this one, 2.1.4. So I am just striking down these rules for the RDP on the workload VM as well. So only that now, oops, okay, I forgot something. What I forgot, I give my public IP address over here in the workload VM. So workload VM is not going to have connection from my public IP, but it will be having the connection from where? If you look into this diagram, from the jump server. So NSG of the workload should be allowing only the jump subnet, right? So this IP address should be the private IP address of the jump server, which is 10.2.0.4. So 10.2.0.4 public IP or private IP address of the your workload, oh sorry, jump VM. So I'm updating this rule on the workload VM. Then let's just come back onto this part, and in now the rule for the your now what I have to do, I have to protect this jump VM. So RDP connection of the your jump VM, I'm going to change it. So I'm going to change it like this. Add, oh, not an inbound rule, there is already an RDP rule. I'm going to perfect this rule. So if source, I am only going to allow my machine to have a connection with the jump server. So I am just making these NSG rule strong. So these things are here. We have updated them. Okay, this thing has been updated. Now, if into this part you will see, so we have added these rules and everything is on the place over here. So what I'm going to do is, only my IP address, I will be having the option to connect or establish an RDP with this jump server machine. So what I'm going to do, let me just go to the overview. and try to have the connection over there and connect to this RDP machine, jump server VM. I connect to this VM, go and click on connect, and click on OK and connect with the jump server. So I am now connected with this jump server. So as a user, this is now connected with the jump subnet. Now you are connected with the jump subnet. Next thing will be that you need to go ahead and now from this machine I will be doing that Inception movie. So this is me. So I go into my sleep. So I'm watching this dream. Now I want to see another dream inside my dream. So this is my task. Okay. So we are inside, this is the jump server. Now from this jump server, what you have to do, only this jump server has the permission to go ahead and connect with this workload VM. So what is the workload VM's private IP? 10.2.1.4. So let me go back to this. This is my jump server, right? Let me just choose this thing. Let me open RDP over here. Okay, this is the remote desktop connection. So inside my remote desktop connection, inside an RDP, I'm going to open one more RDP 10.2.1.4. I guess this was the IP address for my workload VM. Clicking on connect, it will ask me the username and password. And click on connect over here and click on yes now. So now if you will see on top, there are two RDP connections that is being shown. One is having the private IP address and one is having this public IP address over here. So if you will see now what you or where you are, let me just show you a bit of a glimpse of this whole thing. So you are having a VM inside another VM. If I will show you like this, if I minimize this thing. So where you are inside another RDP connection. Okay, if I minimize this one as well, so you will see that this is the, in my base machine, I am having this RDP connection to the jump VM, and inside that jump VM, I am having another RDP connection over here, right? Onto a workload VM. So this is a connection inside another machine that what you are having. So if you want to do anything like on this workload VM, I want to go to the local server options. I just want to go to the IE enhanced security. I want to turn it off, right? Knowingly, I am doing this thing. And let me just close this one. And what is happening? Because if you see in the outbound rule, we are allowing the machine which is in our VNet to go ahead and do the your connection or have the connection with the internet. This is what we are allowing. So if you will be looking for something like www.google.com from in the workload VM, it will be allowed for you, right? So internet connection is allowed, right? So this is something that you will be seeing over here. So this is one point that I just wanted to show you. This is my machine where I am having the connection. So what I am going to do now, so from the jump server, I am having the connection to the workload. This is via jump server. So I'm just going to close this jump server. Why? Because I want to show you one another option. So on the very first week, I was talking about something that was your, okay. And what is this glitch? I don't know as well. Okay, when I'm clicking on this thing, it is kind of appearing back over here. Some kind of sorcery is going on. I don't know what it is. Okay, so this is something like here. So if you remember, there is one more thing that is called your Azure Bastion server. Now, what is Azure Bastion Server? So in this case scenario, if you guys will be seeing here, what is happening? This jump server is created by the user. It will be maintained by the user. So this is the task of the user to go ahead, create it, protect this jump server. Now let's say that you don't want take such kind of a burden and you want more secure connection. So the option for that is going to be your Azure Bastion server. Now, Azure Bastion server is what? You know, it is a kind of a jump server that will be handled and managed by the Microsoft Azure itself. So to deploy a Azure Bastion server, you required a subnet with the exact same name, Azure Bastion subnet. Okay, and only Bastion server will be deployed in this one. Then it will be providing your connection, like management connection, administrative connection of the management portals like SSH RDP over TLS SSL, right? A more secure connection. It will be a browser based connection, and it will be totally managed by Microsoft Azure, and it will be individual for each VNet. Means in different VNet you have to create different basher server over here. So this is going to be the kind of a managed VNet over here. Okay, so with one bastion server only you can access one single subnet, right? And how this will be working, let's see this one. So I think I closed the workload machines connection over here. In the same one, this machine is part of this virtual network, right? Workload VM and jump VM. So if you will be seeing, either I can, I have two options. I can go to the virtual network. Oh, and guys, I totally forgot that this VPN is actually costing us some money. So before I go ahead, I just want to do one thing. I am just going to save my Azure credit, and because I have to do that whole Sentinel one and security solutions as well, and I don't want to waste my resources over here. So let me select this one and let me just simply go ahead and click on delete all these resources, and yes, I want to delete them. Right. Okay. Now what we are going to do is we are on this part. So while it is being deleted, so we are on this subnet. If you want to create a Bastion server, either you can go to the subnet part, create a subnet here, give it the name Azure Bastion subnet, okay? Or second option is come to this Bastion server part. You will see that there is no Bastion right now, right? It is completely empty. So what you have to do is, I will go to the workload VM. If you don't want to, create subnet by yourself with the same name, go to the Bastion option. And why I, personally used to go and create the subnet in advance, because my experience with creating the Bastion server from this point was not quite good, I would say. So here, if you will see, I have the option to access this workload VM. And remember, workload VM doesn't have any public IP address. Okay, so if I will go directly connect Bastion, there is no Bastion server in this particular machine. So I will be saying that, okay, deploy the Bastion server. Okay, so what it is doing, it start creating automatically the thing, right? So last time, remember, I think I go to the correct, and from there I was going into the Bastion. So sometime it will be, you have this option as well, configure manually. So what size of machine you want, D2S, B1, B2MS, which size machine. Right now all the default setting, using the default setting of machine, we start doing this time. So what is going to happen, if you will notice in here, it created a subnet with the name Azure Bastion subnet. So if I go to this machine now and refresh this page, you will see Azure Bastion subnet has been added with /26, right? So it will be deploying this Bastion server for this machine it can take around now 10 minutes, okay, to deploy this whole Bastion server. Because this Bastion server with the default configuration, it will be having your what I can say, it will be having your auto scaling part as well, right? And if you deselect that auto scaling minimum 2 to 10, how many server, Bastion server you want to deploy. So now you don't have to worry about creating that jump server, handling it, because it will be done by the Azure itself. And you will see that it will give you the option of accessing resources via the browser itself. So that is also something that is in this particular part here, right? Okay, so this is being deployed. It will take now the 10 minutes of time. So I hope up to this point things been clear pretty much. Okay, so as you can see, look like quite the choppy thing going on over here, right? So this is the first part. So now we are deploying the Bastion server. So can I put this Bastion server on a pause because it can take few minutes, okay? And in the meantime, now let's just try to understand the Azure firewall, right? So after this thing, there is also the firewall as well. So web application firewall we have seen. Now let's see that your classic firewall over here, right? So Azure also have the option of your normal firewall, what we can say. Okay, so we will be having the option of going ahead and creating a firewall for ourselves over here. So when we will be talking about the Azure firewall, so Azure firewall is having the idea of okay, so Azure firewall is going to be the your intelligence base of kind of a firewall. So it is same scenario as your firewall. So it can control traffic on your layer number 3 and layer number 7 as well. Okay, it can just go ahead and it is having the automatic threat intelligence as well, which can detect some suspicious error connections as well. So what we will be doing, what we will be seeing, we'll be seeing the NAT rules over there, how those rules has been created and all. So when we are talking about the this whole network, now remember we have to deploy the Azure firewall, and to deploy the Azure firewall, you will be requiring the Azure firewall subnet, exactly the same name. Okay, nothing else you can deploy in there. It should be empty. Then one thing is that. Second thing is, what will be our use case scenario? So what is happening, we have seen that if I am on the workload subnet and I want to access the internet, I was allowed to access the internet via the NSG rule that we have applied onto this VNet. Now in the same thing, what I want now is, if there is any VM like workload subnet or anything, whenever they want to go to the internet to access anything, all the traffic should be first sent to your Azure firewall, right? So whenever you are deploying any virtual appliances in a subnet, okay, there is in your 104, you will be seeing one of the demo that will be regarding the this routing table, which we are calling the user defined route. Now, a simple scenario that if in my subnet in your on-premise physical virtual machines as well, if what is firewall, firewall is your first line of defense. So what you want the traffic that is leaving or coming towards your organization, it should be first go through the firewall. So what you want is that firewall to be in place. Now, if someone from the internet want to access anything over the internet, that traffic should be going through the firewall. So let's say that I deploy firewall on the other subnet, and in the other subnets, I am having what? My other resources, other workloads, right? So what I want, all of them, whenever they are doing, sending the traffic to internet, all of that should be redirected to this particular firewall, and then firewall check it and then send it to the internet. Now, to achieve this thing, we have something like the user defined route, and you can implement user defined route with the help of this routing table. So you have to create this default route table over here. So in the same thing, we will be trying to understand that how VNet is going to work over there. Right now, how this, you know, firewall, this thing work, routing table. So when you attach the routing table, you have to create a rule that if the packets, so these routing table, you have to attach with the particular subnet. Okay, you will be attaching it to the subnet and saying that every outgoing traffic, if you will be defining, if they have very, uh, destination IP address I'm talking about, if their destination, IP address part, it is containing a specific IP address range, right? Then in that case, forward it to the firewall. So I will be creating a routing rule like this. So when I will be creating this thing, you will be getting to understand this whole scenario over there. And once there will be the traffic will be forwarding, you will see everything is blocked. Then I will decide what can go to the internet and what cannot, right? So this is the bit regarding the firewall and its infrastructure. So let's just minimize that, come back to your portal, and my Jump Firewall VNet Bastion server has been deployed. Right now, if I go to this place and go to Bastion, so now if you will see here, this Bastion is giving you the option how you want to connect in the virtual network. And this is I am right now I'm the virtual network, and under this Bastion option. So if you want which VM you want to select in your VNet, how you want to select, this will be the one part. Or directly I can go to the VM. In VM I am having this Bastion, and in the Bastion I will be writing the username. Okay, I want to connect to this VM. This is a window based VM. It is having its own username and password. I'm going to do this one and click on connect. Okay, security zoning it can support. uh, it will be not the proper antivirus, but yes, in the back end it is automatically running those kind of a thing, right? So this is a AI based threat intelligence based machine which is running, where you can define the things like only the network based connection, simple thing you can define. Rest the traffic inspection will be done by the your automatic threat intelligence in the back end. Okay, there. So right now we were talking about the Bastion. Okay, so in this one you will see when I click on connect, it take me to the new. Okay, in your browser you have to allow the pop-ups. Okay, I have allowed that, so it has opened it in the new tab for me, and this is my VM, workload VM. Okay, if you have to copy paste anything, this is a clipboard here. You want to access it, so you will see, as I was saying, that it is going to allow you the connection over the TLS SSL. So here HTTPS secure connection you will be having. I can see this machine that is here. Remember, we tried to open the browser and we were trying to go to the google.com. Okay, and you can see history here, and I was allowed to go to the google.com as well, right? So this is something that what we were having onto this point. Now again, from this Bastion server as well, I am just going to disconnect. Okay, and close this one. Right, this is a simple thing that jump server's task can be done by the Bastion server, and Bastion server is actually protected against, patched against all known vulnerabilities that will be there, right, for that particular port that you are having the connection. Now, this is something that what we were doing. Let's just come back and talk about this firewall architecture now, right? So we have the whole machines, VM, and everything in the place. Now what I want to do is, again, it is asking me to do the same thing, that go to your jump server, go to that, RDP connection that what we were having, right? So we were having this RDP connection, we were connecting over here, and we were trying to access the your Google. So it was allowing us to connect to the, through this one and go to the Google part itself, right? So that was something that was possible inside, now I'm again inside that machine where I was going to the Google again and again. So this is still there. So it is asking me that. Now on to the workload VNet, means this one, where we have this jump server firewall. In this firewall, what we have to do, we have to actually create a subnet which is going to be a very specific name, this time Azure firewall subnet. Okay, I'm creating it with the /24, although you can create it with the /26 as well. So I'm creating it with the /24 over here. So this is the next step, you can see. Okay, now what you have to do, it is asking me to do the same thing, public firewall, select the firewall, and name should be exactly like this, Azure firewall subnet. And then it is asking me to go ahead and attach the routing table as well before creating the your VM. Okay, I think deploy the firewall. Okay, routing tool as well. Go to okay. So once we have added this thing, you can now go ahead and I will be creating firewall. Why? Because it can take up to 15 to 20 minutes. Okay, so over here now in this one, I have created this firewall. So in this virtual network, if you will see, is there any firewall? You will see no firewall exists. So it is giving me the option to go ahead and click here to add a new firewall. So why I am doing this from there, so that it can pick up my resource group and everything at once. So it picked up my resource group, jump firewall. Okay, all my resources I have created in there. Then there is, the name of this firewall. So I'll be giving this the name firewall 101. Now it should be in the same location as your, where we are running all these machines, jump server and all, South Central US. This is also in the South Central US, right? So yes, in the same location, it has picked up from that. That's good. Do you want to deploy it according to the your particular, you know, uh, availability zone based, right? Like on the data center 1, 2, those kind of thing. Now there are two tiers here. So premium tier firewall support additional capability like SSL termination and IDPS. Okay, additional cost may apply, and there are different tier like SKU we were talking about. This is going to be in there. So if you choose premium, premium only work with the firewall policy. So if we see here, so there is going to be the your firewall, and these are the firewall policies. Just like web policies I was creating, you can create a firewall policies from here, and with the premium tier you can create a one based on the premium your let's say the base. Like here you can define the DNS settings, TLS inspection rule that we were talking about, right? IDPS, that IDS IPS kind of thing, alert base, alert deny one. Enable the parent policy, you can change the strict setting, what you want to do, alert mode and all these mode. And threat intelligence, so you can add the list of the threat intelligence, allow the list of the addresses and all those kind of things over here. IP address range, subnets, FQDNs, those kind of things you can do from the your policy part, right? So this is the policy setting, that what you can do. Okay, enabling the DNS setting. So DNS server proxy you will be defining here. TLS inspection you want to do, so you will be allowing this thing, right? You have to give the whole, you have to create a whole managed identity certificate over there. So these kind of the premium features are included in here. Okay, IDS IPS as well, right? And they have combined it as saying as the IDPS. So what you want to do. So this is the threat policy based one, which is the premium tier and costing you a good amount of money. Okay, so I'm just not going to go with this. I'm just happy with the standard tier. Okay, costing the less money over here. And I will be using the classic rule manager over here. Okay, which is not going to have that IDS IPS feature. Threat intelligence and everything will be running in the background with the minimal cost. Okay, here I will be choosing which virtual network you want to connect this to. So I will be saying that use some existing virtual network. Okay, so here we will be seeing and where you want to connect. So there is this jump firewall VNet where we created the your firewall itself, right? That it can be connected over here. Yes, yes, Dev. If you want to connect it with the Sentinel, you have to do it manually. There is a connector in the Azure Sentinel. You have to enable that. It will be guiding you what steps you have to take, and it will be connecting the Azure firewall directly to your Sentinel. Okay. So in here, we are now what we are doing, we are selecting this jump firewall VNet. Now it required an public IP address as well. So we are going to add a new public IP address, giving it the name firewall IP address and click OK. We are not force tunneling or anything over here, just going on to the next tags and review and create. Now it can take 10 to 15 minutes. I am going to require everything, private IP address range here as well, and it's private IP address as well and the public as well. Both will be required in this case scenario, right? So this has been done. Now it is going to create and take few minutes to go ahead and deploy this firewall. Okay, so this is the same thing, public IP firewall and create. Now in the meantime, what we have to do, what I want, workload was directly going ahead and accessing internet, but I want to reroute the traffic. So on the workload subnet, I want to add this routing table. I want to do the user defined route over there. So what I will be doing, okay, let me just remove it from here. And okay, it is deploying this thing. Let me go to the home, and what I have to do, I have to create a new resource, and that resource will be with the name route table. Although for the whole configuration of the route table, I am going to require the public IP address of my Azure firewall, right? Private IP address range as well. So I have to work with this one. So this is the route table service. I'm gonna go and click on create the route table. Okay, how many interface Azure firewall has? Okay, so right now, you can see we are receiving the traffic over here. So there is going to be the public inside. Okay, then again, how you want to deploy it, that will be the part over here. So three is, you can see, is going to be already in there. One is for the outside, okay, public. One is for the internal communication within the VNet over there. So those are going to be in there, right? In again, you will be using for DMG as well. I think you have to deploy the another one from same one. You are not going to control it itself, right? Although you can control the traffic of it, right? For the DMZ, you can control that particular one over here. Now, if you will see route table, okay, new resource. So let's just go to the jump firewall resource group, name it the route to firewall, okay, and going on with the next tags and review and create, right? Quickly, this will be a route table. So up to now, what we have done, we have only gone ahead and we have created the your routing table. That's it. We are going to create it. Next thing will be, you have to attach it to the workload subnet. So here, workload subnet is in the jump firewall VNet, and then there is the workload subnet. So we have to go ahead and attach it over there. And then we have to define the rule that if traffic is going towards the internet, default route I will be using over there. Okay, two things are in the deployment. Let's see which goes ahead and deploy it first. Like firewall IP is done. Hopefully this will also be done quickly. Okay, now there is this, your deployment part. We are going to the route to firewall over here, and this is the my route table. So one thing, while I haven't defined any routes yet, because I am waiting for this firewall to complete its deployment so that I can have private public IP address everything over here. Apart from this, there is going to be the your subnet. So I will be attaching, like in your diagram, what we were talking about. We were talking about attach this routing table to the workload subnet so that the traffic leaving the workload subnet, if it is intended for the internet, it should be redirected toward your firewall. Okay, this is what we are going to do onto this particular part. So we are creating over here, and we are gonna go ahead and first of all subnet, and in the meantime let me associate it with the workload. Jump firewall, and in the your workload subnet, and you can see you cannot associate it with the firewall subnet or bastion subnet because these subnets are containing your bastion server and the firewall, and these should only contain resource related to them. So I am going to go ahead and select the workload subnet and attach this route table to that subnet. Now, once it is done, next thing that I have to do is I have to define the configuration over here itself. So what I am going to do is I am going to add the prefix of the, here. So we are at this place route. I'm gonna go ahead and add the route over here. So in this name, I have to give it the route name. Okay. Oh, so it start coming on the left hand side. Earlier, it opened a new tab, but few things has been changed graphically as well. So it is route 121. So prefix the destination. So what we are saying, if because we have attached it to the workload subnet, so any traffic, if it is going to a very specific destination, and we are defining it like something like the 0.0.0.0. So I think guys, when you will be doing this thing, a few change again will be from your guides here which I have created. So when I was doing this thing earlier, it was simply click on route and give the name, and directly there was this option of address prefix for internet you have to give. Next hop, you have to give private IP address of firewall, and it's quite done. So now bit option has been changed, like in here it become like your IP address you have to select. Then on the destination, what I'm saying, if destination is 0.0.0/0, default route for the internet I'm selecting, if traffic is going towards it, so it you should be redirecting it towards a virtual appliance. So what we have, a virtual appliance, a firewall, and this is the firewall which is deployed. Great. And what is the private IP address of this firewall? We will be seeing it here. Private IP address is this. So let me copy this one, paste it here. So now I have defined if any traffic from the workload VM, because it is associated with the one subnet, if traffic is going towards it, you should be redirecting it to the firewall. So if you will see now under this subnet, if I will associate it with the more subnet, okay, simple logic. So if this route table, this is a VNet, and there are multiple subnet 1, subnet 2, if I attach to this one, so any packet that will be leaving this subnet will be checked against the route. If the destination address, DST address, is matched with the routing table, like it is going to the internet, so what is going to happen is it is going to redirect it to where? To your firewall. If I attach this route table to another subnet as well, it will do the same as well in here, right? So this is something that we have to keep in mind. So I have attached it, I have created the route as well. So let's see that what is going to happen. Now let's just jump into the your machine, refresh this page one time, and try to go to that same www. Okay, hopefully this thing has taken its course. No, we cannot attach route table to your VM. We can only attach it to the subnet. So here, if you will see action, deny, region, no rule match proceeding with the default action, means my firewall was working perfectly fine. It doesn't allow this time for me to go ahead and access the your google.com. Now this is quite interesting. So now from the firewall, I can control where to send the your traffic. So we will be going on to the rules, which is classic rules. Now there will be the network rule collection, which is just like your NSG. Okay, priority, which port, TCP, and allow the connection. So we are not going to see this one. We will be seeing application rule and the net rule. So layer 3 and layer 7 work we will be seeing over here. So on this application rule set, let's just go for this application rule collection. First of all, let's just allow your file, google.com. So this thing, I'm going to give it the name allow Google. Okay. Priority, let's just give it the priority between 1 to 1000. Okay, 100 to, sorry, 100 to 65,000. So give it around something like 1000. Action allow. Okay, so FQDN tag or target FQDN. So we will be saying target FQDNs. Okay, so in the target FQDN, we will be saying it is going ahead and it is all about the Google. Name is Google. Now source type, I am saying IP address or IP group you can say. So I will be giving workloads IP, private IP address 10.2.1.4, this one. So I will be saying if traffic is being generated from this machine 10.2.1.4 and it is using protocols like HTTP, HTTPS. Okay, either you can write it like this or you can see HTTP colon 8080 HTTPS name like that as well. So however you like. If you are not writing the column number, so that sorry, port number, what is going to happen? It is going to use default like for HTTPS 443, for HTTP 80, and target FQDN is www.google.com. So we are going to allow this traffic of the google.com over here and click on add. So it will take around 3 to 4 to 5 minutes. Okay, I don't know, sometime it is deployed within 2 minutes, sometime it take 3 minutes. So it will take 2 to 3 minutes of time, which will be talking about how this thing will be working, right? So this will be creating one rule. Now with this thing, I think you guys will also be familiar with the net kind of a rule. Okay, so in the same scenario, what we have done by now is there is one more subnet what we have created, and this is going to contain your firewall. Okay, so what we have the firewall, we have the Azure firewall subnet here. Okay, now this is the what we have done. There is the route table which you have attached onto this workload, which is forwarding the traffic over here, and we are allowing the application layer traffic from this firewall. Now one more thing that is going to be in there is that you will be starting with somewhere. Okay, let's say that again from the internet, let's say there was you know uh, for example Dilip, right? This is Dilip. Now Dilip want to connect to the VM. Now what I can do, because firewall also has its public IP address, so what I can do is I can go ahead and I can allow this here to Dilip to go and connect to the firewall. So I will be using the net rule now. In the net rule, I will be saying that if Dilip is connecting on my particular firewall on a specific port, then I will allow it to go ahead and connect to the my VM. So now in this way, what will happen, because it has running its own threat intelligence to detect suspicious traffic as well. So it can understand that if this is some suspicious traffic or not, and try to create these rules over here and allowing the net rule onto this Azure firewall itself. So the traffic will be now coming to this one, and then someone will be connecting to this particular VM. Okay, so this is the second net rule that you are seeing on the top. This is how we are going to use it, right? So let's just minimize this thing. And while we are talking about this NAT rule connection, in application rule connection, allow Google is in the place, and I think allow Google by now should have taken its course. And one bad thing about your Internet Explorer is that it has that cache memory problem. So I might have to refresh it, multiple time. That's why I close it and try to open it again. So now if you will see, I am not getting the error. I am allowed to go to the Google, and let's say that I am interested in something like the Russia, Ukraine. Okay, so there is the go your Google map, oh sorry, another article. I want to open it. Let's just open it in a new tab. So what you will see, you are allowed to go and access the Google, but you are not allowed to access the bbc.com, right? You only allow the your google.com here, right? So this is something that you can control the application layer network as well. Okay, what your user can allow and what your user cannot. So this is one thing. Now guys, what I am going to do, I am going to disconnect this workload VM from here, right? And close this jump server connection as well. Now what I want is I want to establish this NAT rule connection. So for this NAT rule collection, hmm, okay, so that all that URL filtering kind of a thing on egress. Okay, so you want it to do the on the egress. So you can see itself. It was a kind of the egress rule itself that was going on, right? So whitelisting, the whitelisting, how you are doing here, you are defining the very specific names over here that I'll go ahead and only allow the google.com. You are allowing the different URLs over here. So you are just doing that kind of a thing. So this is the option in the application layer that is allowed over here. Okay, so for this one, and in the net rule though, this is the one part that you are correct controlling. Second will be the network based connection, the IP address TCP based, that will be this network rule collection that you can play around with. Okay, this is going to be over here. Then there is going to be this NAT rule collection. Okay, if someone is coming and like I was giving you the example in this part, if someone is coming over here and connecting onto the your want to connect to your some machine, so for that they can also try and connect on the firewall. And why and how it is possible, if you will see, firewall has this public IP address. Okay, I will open this in a new tab and go back to the rules classic over here, and in the net rule I'm going to add the net rule onto this particular part. Okay, adding the net rule over there. So in this one we are saying allow RDP. Okay, so in here I'm just giving the RDP connection to whom, priority again 1000. So in this one again I will be saying name is allow my laptop. Okay, so what I am going to do, this is my public IP address which I am going to use one more time. So in here, if you will see which protocol you want to allow it for TCP, source type is going to be your IP address. Okay, so in this source type, we are having the IP address. I'm going to paste my IP address over here. Then destination will be firewall's public IP address, which is this one. Destination is this. So we added the destination. Now what will happen? Destination port. If my laptop want to connect to the firewall on, let's say, the port number 5000. Okay, what I am going to do is it is going to be your here. Now I will be doing the translation over here. So this is the DNet what we will be going to do over there. So their destination we will be translating now. So here translated address. So this destination address will be now translated into the what was the workload machine's private IP address 10214. So it will be like this: 10.2.1.4. Now this port number 5000 pnet also I will be doing here. Port, you know, port network translation as also will be doing here. So now this 5000 should be in the 3389 for the RDP connection. So what we have done, allowing my laptop, I give my laptop IP address if my laptop want to connect to the your firewall. Okay, on the port number 5000, you should allow it onto this particular IP address over here. So this is something that you have to remember. So this is again, let me just copy the public IP address of firewall and click on add, right? So this net rule is going to be in there. So we have to just wait. It will be taking 1 or 2 minutes of time. So in the meantime, let me open the RDP connection in my laptop. And I will be saying this IP address and on the port number 5000. Okay, so we will be going ahead and connecting to this IP address when this rule is defined. Okay, so rule has now been added over here with the priority 1000. So you can go here and hopefully this is the right firewalls connection. So I'll be going here with the more and the gonna go and connect on to this one. And yes, and it should be translating and you will be getting the connection onto the workload VM. And just to prove this thing that this is again your workload VM, we can access that dot google.com where we are allowed. So we were finding what Russia. Okay, and search this one. So here I was trying to, let's say, open this another tab and you will see that I am not allowed to connect over there. So why this is? Because we were inside that particular, your virtual machine, which is the workload VM. Here the IP address coming as your firewall IP address. So this is the one part that what you have seen, firewalls and all the different solutions over here.